Thelma Todd, remembered as the ice cream blonde, was one of Hollywood's brightest comedic stars of the early 1930s. She acted alongside legends like Laurel and Hardy and the Marx Brothers and built her own nightclub, Thelma Todd's Sidewalk Café, on the Pacific Coast Highway. But her story took a tragic turn in 1935 in December when she was found dead in her car inside a hillside garage. The official cause was carbon monoxide poisoning, yet almost from the beginning, questions arose about what really happened. Who was Thelma Todd? Before her untimely death, Thelma Todd was one of the busiest actresses in early 1930s Hollywood. She started out in silent films after being discovered through beauty pageants, where her striking looks and quick wit caught attention. As sound took over, she transitioned easily, carving out a niche in comedies. Studios marketed her as the ice cream blonde, pairing her with Laurel and Hardy, the Marx Brothers, and Zazu Pitts in films that showcased her timing and charm. Off-screen, she wasn't content to be just another contract star. She invested in her own restaurant, Thelma Todd's Sidewalk Café, which became a popular hangout for celebrities and locals on Pacific Coast Highway. But despite her professional success, her personal life was complicated, filled with car accidents, health scares, and turbulent relationships. Night at the Trocadero. On Saturday, December 14, 1935, Todd attended a dinner party at the Trocadero nightclub. She wore a blue sequined gown, silk slippers, and a mink coat. Among the guests were Sid Grauman and the Lupino family, regulars in the Hollywood social scene. The atmosphere was lively, though one detail stood out. Todd's ex-husband, Pat DiCiccio, was also there. He had a reputation for being violent and for mixing with mob-connected figures. Witnesses later disagreed about whether there was tension between Todd and DiCiccio that evening. Her chauffeur, Ernest Peters, waited for hours before finally driving her home after the party ended. On the ride back, she was quiet. When Peters offered to walk her up to her apartment, she declined, which was unusual. At about 3:45 a.m., she asked to be dropped near the steps that led up the hillside rather than directly at the cafe entrance. Above the cafe sat a garage holding two cars, Roland West's Hupmobile and Todd's Lincoln Phaeton. What happened next remains the central mystery. Todd never rang the bell at the cafe and never called for help. By the next morning, she was dead inside her Lincoln, turning a late-night return into one of Hollywood's darkest legends. Found in the garage.
Oh, wait a minute. Well, you might as well take the onion. We won't need it. Why don't you girls come down to the dance hall tonight? Might pick up a couple of bucks. That's an idea. You're not going down to that dance hall, are you? You took the very words right out of my mouth.
At 10:30 a.m. on December 16th, Todd's maid, Mae Whitehead, went to the garage expecting to drive her to work. When she slid open the door, she found Todd slumped in the driver's seat, head leaning toward the open door. She was still dressed for Saturday's party. At first, Whitehead thought she was asleep, but when she touched her, she realized something was wrong. Whitehead rushed for help. Roland West soon arrived and, according to reports, touched Todd's cheek, noticed a trace of blood, and wiped it away. Cafe manager Rudolph Schaefer was called, but instead of phoning police from the cafe or house, he drove to Santa Monica to make the call from a print shop. That decision seemed strange and fueled suspicions. Police arrived and noted the ignition was on, the car battery dead, and Todd's purse inside with her apartment key. Their conclusion was that Todd had started the car to stay warm after finding herself locked out. The explanation was neat but didn't fit every detail. Why use the open-topped Lincoln rather than West's enclosed sedan parked next to it? Why was the door left open? Why were her slippers scuffed as though she had climbed the long staircase in them? The accident theory seemed convenient but incomplete. The inquest. The coroner's inquest quickly became a spectacle. Testimony from witnesses was contradictory and confusing. The chauffeur repeated that Todd refused his escort that night, unusual for her. Two tree vendors claimed she bought a Christmas tree on Sunday after the supposed time of death, and later said they were threatened into silence. A liquor store clerk and a druggist claimed she made phone calls Sunday afternoon. Another acquaintance recalled her confirming party plans by phone that evening. Roland West gave his own account, saying he had locked the apartment door from inside because of prowlers, not realizing Todd didn't have her key. He suggested she might have gone to the garage for warmth. But West's estranged wife, actress Jewel Carmen, added more confusion. She testified she saw Todd alive Sunday night with a mysterious man. Later, she fainted on the stand and afterward contradicted herself in an interview. Jurors grew frustrated. The foreman publicly suggested that powerful Hollywood figures were blocking the truth. Deputy District Attorney George Johnson declared that some witnesses were lying. Quote, "Someone knows how Thelma Todd died." Despite this, the official verdict was accidental death by carbon monoxide poisoning. The ruling ended the inquiry, but not the suspicions. Whispers of a confession.
You see how much better I feel already?
Yeah, it's a pretty good idea.
Now you try it.
Not now, Tom. I'm not mad.
Oh, well, go on and try it.
Why should I try it? I'm not mad.
Well, you can at least sing it.
But you're supposed to sing it when you're mad. I'm not mad at anybody. Why should I sing?
Well, can't you sing it for me?
But I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at anybody. Thelma, why should I sing the song when I'm not mad at anybody?
Sing it.
I wake up with a song, a pretty melody.
That's fine.
Behind the scenes, another story circulated. Hal Roach, Todd's studio boss, later claimed deputies told him Roland West confessed after intense questioning. According to Roach, West admitted he had locked Todd out after an argument. He hadn't considered the risk of carbon monoxide. He only wanted to assert control. When he checked later, she was dead. Roach said he advised the deputies to keep quiet. A scandal, he believed, would destroy his studio, harm Todd's memory, and cause a public backlash reminiscent of the Fatty Arbuckle case. There was no written record of West's supposed confession, but the account lingered in Hollywood circles. The idea fit a broader pattern. Sheriff Eugene Biscalis had close ties with studio leaders. Joseph Schenck, a powerful producer, had financial connections to West at the same time. Protecting West meant protecting Schenck and others. The confession, if it happened, was buried under influence and silence. Echoes in time.
Given how she had very little physical injuries and her 70% carbon monoxide blood saturations, I would say that she was likely knocked unconscious and placed in an enclosed space with the car on to finish the job. What makes this strange is that typically a woman would commit murder through poisoning of any type, whereas a man typically takes the more physical approach to a murder. I would say that in my opinion, this likely could have been done by a couple, aka her business partners, who would have a lot to gain from Todd no longer having a share of the profits. Roland and Jewel are the most likely people to have carried out her murder. Both had a motive. Roland took care of the physical part of the assault, and his wife could fix Todd's hair and clothing and finish the job. It's too perfect of a setup. Plus, what if the key was placed in her purse before she was actually dead? They were the only other people who would have had a key to the property.
The cafe and garage still stand today above the PCH, reminders of a tragedy never resolved. Tourists stopped to see the site, drawn by the mystery. Years later, Roland West reportedly confessed again, this time on his deathbed in 1951, to his friend Chester Morris. Actress Zazie Pitts also privately told her son that West admitted guilt. These accounts were secondhand, but they all described the same sequence: a locked door, an argument, and Todd's desperate climb to the garage where she succumbed to the fumes. The official record said accident, but the overlapping private accounts suggested something darker. If not murder, then negligence caused by West's control over Todd. Contradictions remained. Why not bang on the cafe door, or ask a neighbor, or sit in the sedan instead of the drafty Phaeton? None of it added up cleanly. The record revisited.
Look. It's him, the man on the letter.
You're telling me? Oh, I mustn't let him see me looking like this. Oh, Zazen, let's go to the washroom.
Two records survive, the official and the remembered. Police reports documented the ignition left on, the dead battery, the key in her purse, scuffed shoes, and no sign of assault. These facts aligned with carbon monoxide poisoning. Witness accounts about her being alive after Sunday were inconsistent and often unreliable. But the remembered record, Hal Roach's story, the deathbed confession, and private conversations, painted West as responsible, at least indirectly. It wasn't a mob hit nor a violent beating. Instead, it was a fight, a locked door, and a fatal mistake. The so-called new evidence often cited today isn't new forensic discovery, but rather the combined weight of these confessions and recollections. Together, they make the accident ruling seem like less the whole truth and more like an official compromise. Nearly 90 years later, Thelma Todd's name still stirs fascination. She left behind a body of work that defined early sound comedies with appearances in dozens of films during a career that lasted less than a decade. While many actresses of the era faded into obscurity, Todd's blend of humor and glamour kept her visible, both in old movies still screened today and in the mystery that surrounds her death. The cafe she built, still standing above the Pacific, is a tangible reminder of her ambition beyond acting. Writers, historians, and filmmakers continue to revisit her story, not just because of the questions about how she died, but because of the image of a woman who thrived in a male-dominated industry and ran her own business in a time when few women could. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you believe Roland West's alleged confessions? Let us know in the comments section below.